So here is Riot at Rocking Horse, and this is his first outing of the season, and so I'm running him at the prelim division. So coming in nice and straight, got maybe a smidge wiggly in certain spots, but he's quite a nice horse to ride, so pretty fun to do the dressage test on. Go across the diagonal and do our medium trot, which is very nice and uphill. He has a lot of suspension. So for me, the biggest thing that I try to work on is keeping the cadence and the rhythm the same. And now doing our leg yield to the right. For him, lateral work can be a little harder. He's a little weak over his top, even though he's strong on the longitudinal, is what it's called, versus the lateral movements. So into the canter, we go into a medium canter, and this lead being the left is his little bit more expressive lead. And then we come back to working canter. And now we have HXK, which is the counter canter loop. Making sure keeping the rhythm in the canter, keeping the bend. And now coming across the diagonal, we're supposed to do a canter, trot, canter. Sometimes it's a little hard for the horses at the upper levels to want to trot because he kind of wants to do a walk transition, but still fairly obedient. Now the right lead is his little bit weaker side, so he's not quite as expressive. I have to really get him to open up through that right shoulder, bend around the right rib cage, and you'll see his head kind of can bob up and down. Again, that's just a strengthness issue for him. And now we do our counter canter loop again, making sure I get to X. Again, he's really nice and obedient to ride. Very steady in the dressage ring, which is very much a pleasure. Coming across the diagonal here, and we do just a trot at X, which again, he kind of wants to do a canter walks for me, but that's all right. Kind of working on knocking off some of the cobwebs, especially with this being one of the first events for him. We come to our halt, and he nails that perfectly square. And then we back up 3 to 4 steps, a little sticky. Again, that is another one of his weaknesses, but it's getting better and better. His strengths are obviously the big trot, but it's developing him as a whole. Now we go across the diagonal in a free walk. He's very much a horse you have to kind of ask to go forward. And you get a nice overstep. And now we're back into working walk and picking up the trot at F. Now my camera does a little glitch on my phone, so I'm preparing for the leg yield to the right, or to the left, I'm sorry. So you only got to see the last part of that, but it was decent enough. And now we do our stretchy trot serpentine. He could stretch a little bit more over his back. He did open up in his frame, but they really want to see the nose down and out for that movement. And then we get our reins back at L, which is the imaginary letter on the center line. And now coming down the center line, I want to make sure both legs are on evenly so he knows to stay straight. And we do halt. It's again square again. So nice test. Put us in second after dressage. And now going to our show jump. He's a little fresh. So it was good to have him out and feel like he was ready to be out as well. He jumps the first one very nice. He's a big horse, but he is fairly adjustable. And as you can see, he thinks these are a little bit on the small side, but he is coming back from a minor injury, so he was out last year. So it's exciting to have him back up and happy out and competing. He does that one line very nice. This was a tough show jump course, and the fact that we had lots of bending lines. Jump this vertical, then we have a bending line. He can get a little excited about the left to right lead change, but he comes back for the jump. Now I want to make sure I keep coming through my turns. It's easy to kind of let your time get sucked away. So I'm going to keep coming. And then the stride's right there for the one stride in and out. Balance here for another bending. Again, he's very adjustable, so makes it pretty fun to ride. I'm going to keep coming through my turn, balance for that one vertical. He jumps this really good. And I have to really set him back here just a smidge for the last vertical. Super, super good boy. Had a nice clear round. Now, unfortunately, I did not have any side view video, so I'm just going to do a talk over of my helmet cam because everybody was kind of busy. So he kind of starts off a little crooked and spooky in the feeling of he's pretty tense in the beginning and strong all at the same time. So it doesn't give you the best feeling. And in this helmet cam, I was a little quiet just because I was in my head kind of processing everything that's going on. So here he feels a little looky. And as he goes, he kind of will bunny hop every now and then, which can kind of knock your eye off the distance. You see he's just spooking at the other fence there. So I'm just trying to get him to get in front of my leg. You see his little radar ears. He's trying to find trolls to jump out of the bushes or something scary. Jumps don't bother him at all. It's everything else. But I'm just going to try to keep him focused on his job. And we did that in the nice 5. And again, this is just about knocking off those cobwebs and that rust and getting him to have a nice, confident run. Coming to this bench, I saw the flyer to it, but he was a smart horse and said, no, we need to shuffle. And now coming up, we have a table to a chevron. Land 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does that really nice. Again, he's still feeling pretty strong, and I'm just trying to get him to settle and to soften a little bit. He's a big boy, so when he gets strong and intense, it kind of feels like you're riding a cross between an elephant and a kangaroo all at the same time. I tend to call him a heffalump when he does that. So now he's finally starting to feel like he's settling a little bit more. Jumps that table nicely, and we have this mound exercise coming up. So I want to hold my shoulder back, let him see it. It's quite small, and he does that really nicely. Make sure I turn my eyes so he knows where I'm going. We have another big table over here. Just trying to keep him focused. Jumps that nicely out of stride. And we're going into some woods. He might take a peek at something, so I kind of talk to him, make sure. Now he's finally starting to listen. You can see his ears have relaxed a little bit. They're not so much in radar mode. Starting to flicker back to me a little bit more. And now coming up to a bank combination. So this is a bounce bank. So I really want to balance him so he can read this. Give him some time here. He took his time. That's okay. I sit back, keep my hands wide. And he was very clever for that corner. I didn't give him the best ride, or the best shot into that, and he got it done for me. So I was very pleased with him for that. Fixed it though. The thing about cross-country riding is if you make a mistake, you want to kind of leave that behind you and focus on the next fence. Now heading towards the water. I'm going to jump this table, get a good shot over it. Coming to the water. He's pretty brave about water, but again, I'm going to let him balance. Stay back. Let him take the time if he needs it. Keep my hands wide so he sees the chevron. And he pings right over that. So now I have a little bit of time to gallop here. The other point in this too is he was my first prelim horse. I had two, him and Sharpie, so I also needed to make sure I knew where I was going. So there's always a little bit of that doubt in my mind. We do walk the courses beforehand, but I had 5 horses running this week, and so it was a little difficult. So here is where I kind of mess up. I miss, or I think I'm supposed to go in this area right here for a jump, but I quickly see that nope, but I did take some time in doing that, and this was the entry. And he's so brave, does not mind at all. Now, I wasn't necessarily planning on making time, but I was on it for the most part until I had that little navigational error. But that's all right. It's just about letting him get his legs out, stretch his legs, let him kind of coast on down here to the last fence. And see the good shot into that. So finished up with 8 time faults, and we ended up 3rd place. We would have won if we didn't have time faults, but that's really not what it was about this weekend. So super pleased with his run, and really, really happy to have him back out and going.